Welcome into this week's episode of Coach's Corner. Jordan Woodruff with you. Good to have you along. As this week's episode brought to you by National Guard. And we are joined by Coach Tanner Williams. And man, got a lot of stuff going on. And you probably can take a little bit of a breath because you've been running up and down in golf carts.
Yes, sir.
It looks like all spring, right?
Yes, sir. Glad to have a week off. Barely get a week off and then transition right into football. So not a lot of downtime.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that may be coming. So let's talk about the golf first. And I kind of mentioned a little bit about football, but when it comes to it, tell us about what happened this year and how you think all the kids did overall.
Man, had a good year, both boys and girls. Just had some hiccups there at the end. Didn't get in regionals as a team. Had a couple of individual ladies make it to state and one individual boy. But as a whole for the season, it was a really good year. Every golfer we had from our first day in January to our last day in May, they all improved. So some of them improved, 15, 20 strokes in a season. So future's looking good.
I was going to say, golf, you'll have fluctuations, but for a lot of times, especially younger golfers, you can measure success because it's how many strokes are off your game, right?
Yes, sir. And that's kind of how we preach it to the kids is you don't always get first place, but as long as you're continuing to grow and get better, that's the message that we preach to them is, your first tournament, if you shoot a 102 and your last tournament, you shoot a 78, 79, the numbers speak for themselves.
When it comes to the teaching part of it, I mean, do you work on the technique side of things a lot, or is it just kind of like those kids know it and you're working on a more of a mental, like, what is it like as far as the coaching is concerned? Because, I mean, it is a little bit different than other sports.
So we get asked that a lot, especially by people who aren't in the golf world. And we get golfers all kinds. Sometimes it's the first time the kid's held a golf club, and then sometimes, like I said, we had a senior boy who's been playing golf since he could walk. So obviously, with that caliber of a player, you might tweak a thing here or there, but it's more of a mental approach for those guys. The younger kids, the freshmen, sophomores, sometimes we've had freshmen who it's the first time they've ever played, and then you're really doing the elementary parts of the game. So get a little bit of both ends of it.
What's it like when you have a freshman walk in, they've never even swung a golf club and they want to be a part of the golf team? I mean, that just seems like it'd be crazy.
It's tough to it's tough to grade and evaluate as good as I do with high school sports is you never know what a 14 or 15-year-old kid's going to be capable of when they're 17 or 18. So we have a very thorough tryout period where we kind of see what they can do. A lot of times you can kind of naturally tell by the swing. Swing speed is something that we talk a lot about. It's really hard to teach swing speed, but if it's something that a kid has naturally, we can kind of fine-tune the other elements of the game.
I was going to say, if they kind of got the motion, you can fine-tune where they're standing, where their arms are, and get the ball striking as far as the contact is concerned to get them where they need to be, right?
Yes, sir. And I say that's kind of what we do. Like I said, we'll get a freshman or a sophomore who have limited playing time, and we'll focus a lot. We'll be at the range a lot, hitting a lot of balls and just doing things like that. And it's kind of interesting because we try to preach to them, don't worry about your scores. We just want to make sure that we're, like you were just talking about, improving your ball contact, your striking, building that rhythm and that routine,
Yeah, and did you have anybody this year, you had your state qualifiers and you can go through them, but also did you have anybody that took a big step this year that you're excited about the future with?
Man, we have a really large junior class this year, and every one of them progressed. I mean, from the top guy, he probably almost got 10 strokes better to the bottom guy who was 5 or 6 strokes better. So we're really excited about that. We had a sophomore, Jackson Anderson, just come out, and so we were kind of talking about it before, but we go down to our first tournament, he fires an 86, and that's 15, 16 strokes better than he ever did as a freshman. So I'd give him a shout out. He put some time and work into it.
Yeah. Well, and golf is a repetitive game,
Very
naturally.
repetitive.
So, unlike other sports, sometimes, let's say football, a kid goes and does some other things, but they stayed in the weight room, they stayed conditioned. They can hop back onto the football field, and within a week, that's why you have fall camp. They can maybe get back in the flow of things. What's it like with golf now that you've done it multiple years now, trying to keep those kids at maybe not the same level, but somewhat close to the level they are when they come back the next year from the previous.
That's probably the most challenging part of it is, and I mean, living in Oklahoma, people kind of know how the weather is. It's much nicer in the summers and the falls than it is the spring, and we just always encourage our kids to play as much as they can. We actually tell them the time to grow and get better is in the summer and the fall, and then we kind of try to carry that through the spring, which is our season, unfortunately, but. That's our main goal is with the kids is just to make sure, like I said, unlike football, you got to be swinging a club. I mean, you can't really take any days off. And those guys who do it at the top level, I mean, they're hitting golf balls 365 days a year.
Yeah, no, it's like they get done playing. I mean, we got the majors coming up this week with the PGA Championship, and those guys will go out there and they'll hit and they will not like something even if they had a good round, and right after they're done they'll go to the range and hit 200 more balls.
I find it astonishing. You'll see a guy, like Scheffler will shoot 2 over, which is a phenomenal round at a course like that, and then I said they'll show him it'll be 6 hours after he's finished and he's still out on the driving range and they're turning the lights on so he can keep practicing.
That's why it's a fun but frustrating game, everybody. So, real quick, let's go through name the state qualifiers and how they fared.
We had Caitlin Clark on the girls' side and Ella McKee on the girls' side. Both made it. Ella sophomore first year, Kate junior third year. She's actually been there, and she was a top 20 finisher this year. So both of them played really well. Got to go down to Stillwater, get to the country club, and the course was phenomenal. They did a real good job with it. So golf, I said, it's kind of interesting and weird in its own unique way. Is you always want to win, but sometimes being 16th or 17th is you playing your best game. So the boys' side, Hunter Austin, second year in a row that he's made it. He's a senior. We'll be sad to see him go. Went down and fired a 76 his first round, and then kind of struggled a little bit, but handled himself well, managed it, and I think he was around 30th probably.
Well, and there was challenges even at the state tournaments with the weather, right?
So the weather was unreal. It rained. It seemed like it rained every single day. It rained 2 inches. We played on Monday, and it rained 2 inches Monday night, and we were back out there on Tuesday. Course conditions. The crew, we played at a place called Oaks Country Club in Tulsa. The crew out there just phenomenal. I mean, they were doing everything they could to get the course ready. But just those wet conditions, it's not something you get to practice in, do things like that. And like I said, he did a good job managing it out there. So it's pretty tough conditions for a high school kid. And the boys' side, we were counting them up, and there was, I want to say we had 14 Division I golfers in the field. Yeah. So very, very tough field.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, golf, it's big here in the state of Oklahoma, as we know. You got good collegiate programs, good high school programs, great individual athletes, a lot of history when it comes to golf here in the state of Oklahoma. And you can see that when you go out to a high school championship. And like you said, every other kid you look at is going to be playing D1 golf.
Yes, sir. No, there's a kid that's committed to OU, and man, he went and fired an 8 under in the second round, and it kind of just shocked everybody, And I said, and then you turn around though the next day, and there's 7 or 8 kids 4 or 5 under par. I said it was just a tough field. All
right, now turn our attention to next year. Talk about kind of what you think you can achieve next year. Like I said, you'll have things that change naturally. Being high school sports from year to year, that's the case. But a lot of optimism going into next season, right?
A lot of optimism. I say last year we graduated 7 seniors, which in golf is a lot. It's about having equivalent to 25 on the football team. So we graduated those 7. We only had 3 this year. And we have a large junior class that we're really high on. We think as a whole, since me and Coach Parks have been in the golf program, that we think it's going to be the best actual team that we've had as far as numbers go. So all 5, 6, 7, 8 kids that are going to play are all capable of low 80s, high 70s. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, and when it comes, I mean, it's tough when you talk about qualifying for a state championship and everything, especially the team aspect, because there's a lot of good players, and you one bad day can all of a sudden keep you out of it. So, it's funny with golf. I mean, sports is like that in general, but, you may everything's based on that one moment and maybe that one thing, and it puts a lot of pressure on these kids.
A lot of pressure. That's something. So last year regionals was a 36-hole event, and they changed it to 18 holes this year, and we're actually hoping it goes back to 36 just for that, so those kids don't feel, because they had one bad hole in 18 holes could get you 7, 8 or over, so we're hoping that they change that back to 36 to give the kids a little more room for mistakes, so they don't feel so much pressure.
I think 36 holes is the better way to go. I mean, I just think, like you said, a kid has a bad day for whatever reason. The next day they can have a good day. I think you even it out. It's kind of like playing a series in sports, right?
That's kind of how we preach it to the kids. Is each 18 is a new 18. So we're really hoping that they change it back to that. Just I said it also helps ensure that you get the best teams possible at state. Like you said, you could have a team show up and be shooting 400s all year and then come out and play their best round of the year and shoot a 295 and sneak in and then go throw up 425 at state.
Yeah.
So now we're hoping that it goes back to 36.
Yeah. So, hey, anything else before we let you go?
No, man, we're good.
You're in the midst of football now. So.
Yeah, no, back to the grind. Say as a coach, you don't get very much free time.
But you're not having to travel as much now with football, right? At least you're staying in Ponca for a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
we're here every day, so I'm sure my wife is glad.
Or she may not be. You never know, right? So, all right. Well, appreciate the time, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Coach Williams with golf, and that's going to do it for today's Coach's Corner. Jordan Woodruff saying so long. Until next time, go Cats.